The war that began alongside the world has continued on, a war between humans and inhumans, slowly escalating without a clear winner. The majority of blood spilled on the battlefield belongs to humans, the warriors and heroes of countless battles, yet they've never reached the Dark Lord even once. It seemed about to become unwinnable, and as they faced the truth, they struggled to comprehend how this could possibly make sense. However, all the heroes felt it deep down. It was the pinnacle of all living things in the realm, the Dark Lord. That name had finally reached the deepest part of the ocean and awakened the competitive spirit in a certain individual, and that individual was the Lord of the Ocean. The scene cuts to a lush Greenland, where out of nowhere, a young girl appears, her pink hair flowing around her. This is her first time on land. However, something odd has happened to her body that she does not understand. She sees two creatures glaring at her, and she becomes annoyed, believing that their attitude signifies a desire to fight her. She smiles wickedly, swinging her hand in a flashy motion and declaring that they were impotent. However, nothing happens except a splash of water hitting their faces. The creatures stare at each other for a moment, confused. After a few moments, the animals realize that she is weak, so they begin to approach her viciously. Before she knows it, one of the rabbits hops towards her and falls into a trap, meeting its doom. As it lays in the pit, a shadow looms over it, and she declares, "Goodbye." After this occurs, the rabbit's body disappears, and a purple jewel is found in its place. This is the third one she has caught. The war between humans and inhumans has continued for many thousands of years, escalating slowly over long ages, but this place is far from the front lines. As she walks through the village, she hears rumors that a hero from the front lines is visiting this area. Ignoring all of this, she makes her way to the guild hall, yet all she hears is chatter about a warrior candidate who is expected to arrive in the village. She pushes her way through the crowd, declaring that she wants to exchange for 3 magic crystals. The lady behind the counter is busy counting her money to give her. As she goes to collect it, a task that proves quite a struggle, the hero arrives, and everyone begins to push her back, injuring her in the process. She does not understand why they are causing such a ruckus. In her mind, many had dreams of becoming a warrior, and some realized their talents quickly. As the hero passes by with a huge catch, the people praise him, but our protagonist walks away without a care. Due to the arrival of the hero, a festival has begun, and the prices for goods are quite low. As a result, she manages to gather quite a haul. Even in a quiet country village, the intensity of life continues on. Our protagonist makes her way to a small dwelling near the ocean. Inside, she lights a candle and begins removing her coat. She cleans her floors and starts singing that she is the Lord of the Ocean while preparing a meal. Once the food is finished, she devours it all. It is quite delicious. However, a moment of realization hits her as she reflects on her situation. She cannot believe she is getting used to this life. All she managed to catch for the whole day was 3 rock rabbits, and if she exchanges them, that amounts to 6 copper coins. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner cost 6 copper coins, which means she must work a full day just to survive, just like everyone else. She has a dream, and she does not want to live like this. Neither do I, she laments, but I have to live this damn life. It is hard. She wishes to return to her homeland, but she ponders how she ended up like this. She just wants to be the Lord of the Ocean, the name she once bore that everyone spoke of. The reason she came to this land is that there cannot be 2 suns under the same sky. She has heard rumors of the Lord of the land, but right from the beginning, everything became completely twisted because of that necklace, the necklace that cannot be destroyed and won't even come off now. It is a holy relic she brought from the sea to gain legs. She thought it was a gracious item that would grant her the legs she so desperately lacked, but as soon as she emerged from the water, it started draining all of her magical power. As a result, she lost all of her abilities, and for some reason, she even appeared younger. She has tried to return to the sea, but for whatever reason, she could not go back. Then she found herself in a situation where she was beaten up by insignificant land creatures. After 2 days filled with tears and shame, she resigned herself to eating the weeds of this land like an animal. However, she has now become capable of fending off the creatures. She no longer falls asleep in the rain. She has built a home for herself. As she begins to earn some coins, she no longer has to eat weeds to stave off starvation. Unfortunately, her life is no different from that of a villager. It surely drains the life out of a person, especially since she is aware of who she once was. She contemplates attending the festival to lift her spirits. So, late at night, she walks through the village, but it is strangely quiet. She hears little voices that catch her attention. Peering from behind a barrel, she spots a blue-haired girl speaking about a fortune teller who claimed this was the right village. She recognizes the guy in the middle. He was the person she saw at the guild who was supposed to be amazing. They have discovered some kind of entrance and see no reason to delay. A girl inquires what kind of place he is keeping secret from them, but they decide to trust his judgment and follow him. He explains that the legend tells of a brilliant sword buried somewhere in the hidden grave of the Lord. They've all heard about this when they were young, a treasure that can bestow countless riches. If this hero wants to rival his opponents, he needs a sword to gain an advantage. Our protagonist is intrigued by this. She can smell the scent of riches, fame, and glory, and most importantly, a full stomach, living the life she once dreamed of once more. This is a total reversal of her fortunes. She begins to follow the heroes, a grin spreading across her face. As they make their way to a cave, she watches them from behind a tree. Once they enter, she is not far behind, stealthily hiding wherever she can, from behind a rock to the top of the cave ceiling. Suddenly, they arrive at an imposing castle, not just any castle, but the ominous giant one that no wise person would dare to enter. It is so dark that they can see nothing. They scan the area, but from above, through a small hole in the cave, someone is watching them. That someone also notices our protagonist trailing behind the heroes. In the darkness, he cannot see her figure, but he senses something dangerous about her presence. They venture deeper into the cave until suddenly, a trap appears. The riches they sought are nowhere to be found. A sense of danger replaces any hope of turning her life around. Perhaps she should quit while she's ahead and return home. Suddenly, a noise grabs her attention. The door that the hero just passed starts to move, as if it is closing. With her keen, sensitive ears, she does not miss that sound. The noise made as this enormous door closes would undoubtedly cause the heroes to turn around. She must make a choice, escape quickly before it closes and return home, or conceal her tracks and hide before her targets turn around. The door closes rapidly, and the time to ponder is merely a blink of an eye. The protagonist, who has experienced everything the world has to offer, feels as though time is ample for reflection. Yet, to her horror, her body cannot follow through. She rushes inside as her gaze meets the heroes, who are all stunned. The hero immediately unsheathes his sword and inquires who she is. She begs them to calm down. She is merely a girl who lives in the mountains, befriending nature, simply gathering medicinal herbs every day to assist those in need. A girl comments that it seems they were being followed. The hero questions why she pursued them, asking if the church sent her. She declares that she has admired heroes her entire life. As she was heading toward the festival after coincidentally discovering the exciting side of these handsome figures, she followed them to learn a bit more. She insists she had no ulterior motive, that is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The hero senses nothing deceitful from her words. He tells her that it is dangerous to be there, so she should return home. Immediately, she bolts away. The hero smiles, recalling that he used to be like that girl too. She shouldn't do anything that she doesn't have to and just go home. Her life is more important than money. Those are wise words. Unfortunately, the door does not open. The hero attempts to force it open, but it remains shut. He questions if she caused the door to close, and our protagonist explains that the door closed on its own, so she was surprised. Dread fills the air as they realize that they need to find another exit. She mentions that it would be prudent to ask for help from his party member over there, as he looks to be the strongest one present. Upon hearing this, he turns slowly, his expression confused as he looks around. She questions if that person is a ghost or something. Looking closer at the pillar, a slow dread begins to fill him. The hero slowly sensed the intent to destroy. He quickly reached for his sword, realizing that something was amiss. However, before he could draw it, a hand stopped him. A man with red eyes told him that it was enough and that fighting would be useless if he even tried. Suddenly, the man was struck by an attack that shattered the ground beneath him. However, he evaded it before anyone could even comprehend what had happened. A girl, using all her strength, lunged at him, but the man remained calm. The girl asserted that she didn't know who he was, but he had chosen the wrong opponent. He smiled and questioned if that was the case. Before them, the man created giant, bat-like wings that sent the girl flying away. That was when our protagonist finally realized that he was not part of their group. The guy transformed into an inhuman. How could it be possible that any inhuman would be so far behind the front lines? The hero, realizing that he was likely outmatched, apologized for attacking him first. He explained that the conflict between inhumans and humans only reached as far as the front lines. This meant that the inhuman must have come here with a purpose in mind, so they should seize this fight as futile for each of them. The inhuman declared that the hero's manner of speech was arrogant, which infuriated the hero, as was evident on his face. He retorted that all they had learned on the front lines was how to eliminate inhumans. Aside from eating and sleeping, they were committed to destroying inhumans without breaks. He insisted that if the inhuman chose to fight, they had no choice but to destroy him, as they were on a level where they could estimate their opponent's capabilities. The inhuman explained that from the beginning, his goal was not those people. Suddenly, the hero shouted, "What are you doing?" as the inhuman appeared behind the girl. The girl looked up to see the man smirking ominously. The hero declared, "Stop it. She's just an innocent child." In a cute voice, she exclaimed, "Good sir, your wings are very cool." The man commented that she was wearing a human mask. For a moment, she was stunned, trying to comprehend the scenario. Suddenly, the inhuman pierced her heart with ease. He released her, and she fell to the ground like a rock. Without any remorse, he smiled and glared at the hero. Furious, the hero rushed at him, swinging his sword, but the inhuman merely kicked him in the head, causing a shockwave that shattered the ground around them. He declared that it was not that he couldn't end all their lives, it was just that he chose not to. The girl attacked the inhuman from behind, believing she had found his blind spot, but in an instant, his foot connected with her face, knocking her back and causing her to cough up blood. He remarked, "Level up, it's very annoying." He declared that he had no interest in them at all and that they could continue to fight among themselves. He then looked at our protagonist, commenting that they must have brought her out as their ace in the hole. However, she had been destroyed so easily. The hero contemplated what the inhuman was trying to convey. The inhuman declared, "From the look on your face, you seem confused. You really did not know, did you?" He laughed loudly. He didn't notice something odd right next to him. It seems that humans are so foolish that they still cannot make any progress whatsoever. The hero told him to stop. She's just a child. He doubted his own ears upon hearing that. Anger surged within him, feeling as though he was being tricked with such an obvious ruse. In their eyes, did she truly appear to be a child? For some reason, she had taken on the form of a human, but unfortunately, she was not a human, let alone a child. He was curious about what she was, but she had died so easily. Whatever she was, it wasn't anything serious since she perished so quickly. He pressed down on the hero's chest, causing him to cough in pain, while the girls looked on, feeling powerless. The inhuman questioned if the sword of the Lord was their goal as well. If that was the case, he could not let them leave, as that was also his objective. The hero questioned whether, if they gave up on it, if he would let them live. He thought for a moment before releasing his leg from the hero's chest, but that was just an illusion. He quickly stomped on the hero's head. The hero begged him to stop, but this man was enjoying every minute of his anguish and suffering. Meanwhile, our protagonist, slowly dying, lamented that she didn't want to die like this. She had so many important things to do, but now it seemed to matter little. Then she thought about the necklace. Who had given it to her? Suddenly, the inhuman felt a dangerous aura above him. When he turned around, he was stunned to see the girl standing up, her injuries healed. He was 100% sure that she was dead, and even more surprising was that the hero was gone, back in the arms of his companions. He was unsure how the girl had come back to life, but he would just end her life again. However, she suddenly vanished. She appeared behind him. When he turned around, she disappeared again. From below, she called to him and struck him with a devastating punch. The impact of this punch caused a huge tremor, destroying the building behind them. However, it seemed like she barely connected, only grazing the inhuman's face. At that moment, he realized that his earlier feeling was correct. There was something extraordinary about her, something he didn't understand, but instinct told him it was something that disgusted him. Yet, that disgust was nothing less than fear. Nevertheless, he used his full strength, knowing that all he had to do was tear her to shreds. She walked towards him, declaring that she didn't know why her power had returned just then, but it seemed it was thanks to him. If he was this curious, she would teach him who she was. Her eye color changed to blue, and her teeth became sharp. She asked, "Have you ever heard of the Lord that lives in the ocean?" He was surprised. "Ocean Lord," he declared. "If you're the Ocean Lord, then I am the Dark Lord." She questioned whether he was telling the truth, but in an instant, she closed the distance between them. She clenched her fist and declared that it was a great coincidence then. At one point, she knocked him back, and he was stunned, asking if it was possible to be that quick. The inhuman realized that this was not an issue of speed. To make matters worse, her bizarre hand gestures were troubling him. She declared that she had come here to determine who the true Lord was on land and who was the true Lord under the heavens. With a motion of her fingers, she called him forth, and he was dragged towards her as if gravity itself were under her control. She announced that the title of a lord had no place for a small fry like him. Desperate, he used an ability that summoned a dark cloud to obscure her vision. He made a decent decision, releasing the cloud from behind to attempt an attack, but she quickly turned around and countered in an instant. He was pushed back and questioned how he still looked like a small fry now. She commented that he was quite arrogant. They both soared into the air as their battle continued, and she began to beat him senselessly. Meanwhile, the hero explained that he had just remembered something, a story from a passage that described the demon in a fairy tale from where Anna and he had grown up. It described a being that looked just like a human, its only distinction being its crimson eyes and dark wings. That was who the inhuman was. The blue-haired girl believed that the hero had lost his mind after being smacked around a few times. The hero explained that he wasn't saying that the man was a demon, but rather that before the first encounter of humans and inhumans were very much like that. At that time, there wasn't even the concept of inhumans, and their appearances were much more varied. Regardless, the problem wasn't that, but rather the fact that any inhuman's power was proportional to the ages it had lived through. They could not be found in the current era, but like winged little people, the beings with a half-human, half-fish appearance, especially those who had lived long enough for their existence to be passed down as fairy tales, were said to be equally ridiculously powerful. As a matter of fact, the Dark Lord being one of those ancients was a leading theory as well. This meaning that if these beings were ancients from the fairy tale, there was no longer a fight they could contend in. They could only pray that this ended favorably for them. If that's the case, what in the world is that girl? The protagonist declares that there cannot be two suns under the sky, and that is the reason she has come up onto land. The inhuman realizes that it's over. His regeneration is unable to keep up with her brutality. She begins to brag about how the creatures and the land are pathetic and aren't even worth fighting, as he contemplates whether he should continue fighting. Unfortunately, she is stronger than him. He thinks that maybe he should run away. However, she is faster than him. Perhaps he should take the humans hostage, but would that work when she isn't even human? Maybe he should beg for his life. What can he do to come out alive? She approaches him and questions whether he is listening. She declares that this is the most fun part. He tells her not act so arrogantly and attacks her with a swarm of bat-like creatures. She smiles and asks, "Is this the only trick you know?" He summons the annoying small fries, but without even moving a muscle, she obliterates all that opposes her. Then, she punches him in the face, breaking through the mountain in the process. From this, a giant blue light escapes the mountains. The punch is so powerful that it breaks through the sky and reveals the solar system. However, due to this, she wasn't able to finish him off. The power that had returned is now escaping from her, and at this rate, she is going to lose her power yet again. She informs the hero that she will lose her power if that happens, and he must run away. She knows that she needs to end it with this last strike. She approaches him and declares that there's no time left. It's time to end this. Does he have any last words? His last words are, "Let me live, but I know you're not going to, are you?" She declares, "Of course not," as she ferociously approaches him. However, what unfolds is just a light tap to the face. She begins contemplating for a few moments and then ponders what the hell just happened. She's sure that her power is still present. She just imagines that the only thing left is that she is unable to strengthen her physical abilities. He questions whether she has changed her mind or something, but she realizes that if she lets him live, she will die. Is there no other way than that? She declares that if she lets him live, she has two conditions for him. In the next scene, we see the moment where the hero declares that they are indebted to her. She tells them that it is okay, as they've obtained things from it as well. The hero questions what her name is, and she declares that her name is Yuria. The hero states that if anything bad happens to her, she should just inform him, and he will be on his way. With this life, he will come to wherever she is to be of assistance to her. They begin to leave and wave goodbye, but now it's time for her to embark on a new beginning with her new servant. In the next scene, we see her picking fruits and throwing them in a basket that the guy is holding. He thinks to himself that one day he will take her life with his own hands. In his entire life, he's never experienced such humiliation. Just a few days ago, he was defeated by her. At that time, he shouldn't have accepted the offer of being allowed to live if he became her underling. All he feels is that his powers have been sealed due to the weird contract with her, and he has a strange scar on his face. He fought her with his power sealed, which is why he lost. Next time, the moment she shows the tiniest opening, that will be her last moment, she interrupts his thoughts and tells him it's time to go and that it's enough. She really should have made sure to finish him off then. A few days ago, she had acquired an annoying underling, since he was quite strong. Having him as an ally was good. However, if her underling is stronger than her, the hierarchy would be flipped. That's why she took away his power, which was the source of the problem, resulting in him becoming weaker than her, as she had hoped. But she didn't consider what would happen next. He is completely useless. The money she makes is still the same, but the number of mouths to feed has increased. So they have come to a situation where they will start to starve if they don't at least get fruits like this. Additionally, looking at the hostility, she feels it seems like he still plans to betray her. She thought he wasn't that much of an idiot, but she was dead wrong. Suddenly, a group of knights exclaims that it's the fruit thieves. They are repeat offenders. The knights order them to put down the fruits and surrender. She tells him to step up and not lose the food, or else they're going to start fighting today. Her unfaithful servant shouts, "It's an ambush," but it's too late. A net is flung towards her. Although she lost her powers, it wasn't completely gone. Strangely, her speed remained at least a bit, so she is quite flexible and difficult to capture. She runs off and declares that she will see her unfaithful servant at home. Outside her residence, she comments that these fruits aren't as tasty as the ones they usually eat, but considering their circumstances, she doesn't have much room to complain. Suddenly, they receive a delivery from a courier. She takes it out and ponders who sent it. She hopes it's something to eat. If anyone sent something edible, they would rather eat it themselves. Upon inspection of the gift, it turns out to be a knife with a broken blade. The hero wrote her a letter inquiring if she is doing well. He mentions that he has returned to the front lines and is fighting for humanity, but he believes that the day will come when not only he, but the whole world will recognize her. She is pleased by his words. He also attached a gift, which is nowhere close to equal value to a life, but he sent it as thanks. It's an exquisite sword with artistic value. He believes that if she puts it up for auction, she could get 20 gold for it at the very least. Immediately, she orders him to put that back together. It would be a huge problem if it gets scratched. That's when she realizes the value is 20 gold. What has actually gone wrong? She remembers that she was supposed to have gotten riches and fame. However, she receives a piece of paper, realizing that she had forgotten all about it. A guy declares that he can't accept junk like this. Upon hearing this, she is surprised. Later, at the front line, a demon mole delivers a letter. They ponder if she likes to give. Hero reads, "I received your letter. The front lines must be filled with danger. I hope you are feeling well. Make sure to keep your head on your shoulders until the day I come on collect it myself." That's when the blue-haired girl sees the sword they were supposed to give her. It dangs on him. He made a big mistake. Meanwhile, Yuria hasn't heard much today either. If this continues, they're going to starve. Even when they went back to their cave of treasures, the entrance was completely blocked. She was really worried. Suddenly, she pondered, where did her loyal servant go? She spots him looking at something. "What are all these papers on the board?" he inquires. She explains that these are commissions people sent to the guild. It's open for all. They don't care who takes the commission as long as it's completed, so it's for anyone who is confident. Most of these commissions are for destroying monsters, so they don't stand a chance. He rips off a piece of paper and asks if she believes that they can handle this one. She ponders if they want them to chase something, but the paper states, "The Forest of Silence, a monster investigation." They're good at running away, so I don't think it would be that difficult to go and figure out what kind of monsters live there, he says. Did no one take such an easy commission? But maybe they were just lucky, she speculates. However, she believes that the paper seems as if it's been up for too long for that to be the case. Or maybe they didn't have enough money to buy new paper. But her thoughts quickly change when she realizes that the reward is 1 gold coin, and she quickly agrees with whatever he was saying. They run off as they can finally have meat for dinner. Meanwhile, a group of men notices that someone took the commission for the Forest of Silence, which means that the missing persons list is going to get a new addition. Later, Yuria arrives at the forest, known as the Forest of Silence. You would think there wouldn't be a single piece of anything around, but to their surprise, this place is crawling with different types of monsters. As they're running, a circle surrounds them. Then the sand begins to rise, blocking them off. A mage and a warrior question if they are okay. The beasts can't get in, so there's no need for you to worry. The guy asks if they're going to the Forest of Silence. She tells him yes. The two believe that they are saved, but the young girl reminds him that they can hear him. She questions, "Would you like to accompany us?" They look at each other nervously and question why them. They confess the fact that they're both lost. They shake hands, and it's a great coincidence because they are so lost, which creates an embarrassing moment for all of them. In the next scene, we see Yuria and the Inhuman together. She comments that if only he wasn't there, they wouldn't have had a fight and the entrance wouldn't have collapsed, so she would have found her riches. He declares that there wasn't anything in there, not even riches. But if that's the case, why were you there? He comments that it was a bit of an escape from reality. She tells him not to look down on her sense of smell. It was definitely the scent of total reversal of her fortune. It must have been full of riches as well. Suddenly, the Inhuman notices a rabbit looking at him. They start to fight with their eyes, and he cannot believe that a beast would dare look directly into his. However, he holds his pride and tells her that they should go. Unfortunately, that's when a giant bear roars and attacks them, and that's how they ended up here. When they came to their senses, they were already running away and getting lost. The guy confesses that they were going to the Forest of Silence because they had something to do. She comments that the forest seems quite famous since everyone seems to know it. With a sly grin, the mage comments that it's quite infamous. Apparently, nobody ever comes out of the forest alive. Normally, when you hear something like this, you would react by thinking that they would be in big trouble if they enter, so they should stay clear. But their leader left a single letter saying, "When will you see it for real, if not now," and disappeared. That's why they are on their way to find him. Yuria comments, "Isn't this place already the Forest of Silence?" The mage elaborates that's not the case. A long time ago, she walked right in front of it once. She lost her way because it's been some time, but if they can find the giant cuss tree, they can find it quickly. Yuria points at something and questions if that's it, declaring that all they have to do is go this way. The scary part about this forest is that no one knows what kinds of things happen inside. Something happens for sure, but the screams are the cries of creatures. Nothing of this sort seeps outside of the forest. On top of that, there hasn't been a case of anyone returning, and so the name given to it is the Silent Forest, a forest that even consumes sound. Yuria comments that their friend is nowhere to be seen. They are a bit surprised, but they don't believe that he would actually go inside. The mage believes that there is a chance. From the curious thoughts generated by this mysterious terror, Yuria suddenly has a thought. Where's the point of no return? For example, assuming that it is the forest from the outermost tree, what if half of your body is inside while the other half is outside? What if only the upper body is inside and the lower body is outside? Could that be considered inside the forest? What if it's just here? She wonders as she touches the tree, wondering if this is the outermost tree. She takes 2 steps into the forest, but when she turns around, there are only trees, and her friends are gone. In the next scene, we see the inhuman in agony. Yuria declares that she let him live with this, but he'll have to help her from now on. It's better than dying here. He questions, "What have you done to me?" She explains to him the 2 restrictions that were just applied to him. The inhuman takes a deep breath, then begins walking inside the forest. The guy explains that the place inside is without an exit. He should think it over carefully. However, he declares that if she dies, he dies too. The mage is in love with her thoughts, believing that his heart is so concerned for his comrade to the point he would risk his own life. But what will lead to him now? They should check on the path they passed first. He probably got lost the same way they did. If he'd arrived, he'd be here instead. They can't believe that he would really go inside. Meanwhile, the inhuman enters the forest and feels a sense to go in a certain direction where he finds his master. Yuria declares that she found someone. He is the leader of that party before. He declares that he thought it was just a dumb rumor. He never expected it to be real. His reason for how he got in was exactly the same as hers. The inhuman questions why she would go inside. In unison, they declare, "Where's the point of no return?" That was their shared thought. The leader explains that it's dangerous to stand around here as an abomination lives here, as it is neither creature nor human, but still a terrible abomination. The human questions who he heard it from, but there are some people living here. The leader declares that it would be safer if they stick with him, and he and the young lady get along very well. The inhuman questions if he has any idea how to get out of here. The leader explains that if he knew, they would have already gotten out of here, and for the others, they didn't have any information either. Everyone is too busy avoiding that abomination. The leader declares that they will be surprised when they meet the people they are going to meet. They're all people from legends. If those people are busy trying to stay alive, then that's enough, he believes. He spots 2 individuals and shouts, "So, warrior. I found new people." A man sits behind a guy with his eyes closed. Fear fills the inhuman. The blonde guy questions, "What the hell did you bring here?" Immediately, he swings his sword at Yuria, just inches away from her neck. However, in an instant, the inhuman saves her life. He declares, "How dare you, a mere human, do this?" The blonde guy explains that he doesn't care about the inhuman, he wants to know the identity of that girl. The inhuman bears 2 restrictions. The first restriction is that if for whatever reason she dies, he dies as well. The second restriction is that when danger approaches her, until that danger is eliminated, his powers will return. She reminds him not to forget that the one path in order to escape her is death alone. The inhuman powers begins to return. If he knows the principle behind it, he would be able to escape from her. The blonde guy comments that his body returns even when it's cut. He doesn't seem to be an average inhuman. The inhuman comments that it seems that his eyes do not regenerate. The blonde guy remarks that not only his eyes, but also his home, his family, and even his comrades.